Okay, let's react to this video basically.
By a show of hands, how many women in here desire a feminine, passive, emotional man? Anybody? Nobody? Okay.
That in itself, I never get it. Just because you met some women, just because you met some men or some women or anybody who specifically does not find feminine men attractive, masculine women attractive, it's weird to me. Why are you saying that? Why are you making that assumption that all, just because you met some, you know, the people in that room aren't the 7 billion people in the world. So I just kind of find that weird. Now, personally for me, yeah, I am definitely attracted to more feminine men, definitely more passive and more submissive generally. Just that's just what I generally prefer, because when it comes to my natural nature, when I relax, I'm more in my masculine energy. So for me, if I was to feel at home or comfortable with a man, I would be in my masculine energy. And if I'm not, I'm going to be depressed, or specifically like not giving a darn, or specifically just really, really nervous because I know I'm trying to put up an act, put up a face for this guy for a short period of time, because that's never going to last long. This is why, for me, if I'm trying to be feminine, it must be for a short term type of situation, because I don't want to stay that way long, because I don't feel comfortable there, basically. And I don't feel comfortable because my initial reaction to most things was more in the masculine energy than feminine. And yes, a big part of my personality, my behavior, has been stifled because society doesn't really like when women act very masculine. So I've always chipped down on that and tried to act neutral. But neutral is always uh, me being very unsure of myself because I'm not really comfortable there. You can't be sure of yourself when you're being someone else. You can't be sure of yourself when you're trying to put on an act. You can't be sure of yourself when you are basically in a mode and in a position of which you are not comfortable in. Anyway, continue, sir.
So if you don't desire a feminine, emotional, passive man, why do you think he wants a hard, masculine woman? If you are happy with that dynamic, knock yourself out. All right? However, what I have found is women who carry masculine energy and get with a more passive feminine man, they may be okay at first, but as time goes on, you start to resent him, you start to look down on him, you don't respect him the same, you're mad because you feel like the burden is on you, he's not assertive, he doesn't handle his business, so on and so forth. The man feels like he's not respected, you don't treat him like a man, he doesn't feel valued in the relationship. Now, if you go watch these two.
And to me, it seems like in those kind of situations, this is the problem. One person obviously wants someone who is more masculine, and another one wants to be more masculine. I don't know why he's not being more masculine, though. If he wants to be treated more masculinely, then he should act more masculine. If he's comfortable that way. If he's not comfortable that way, then why isn't he just happy being feminine? If that's his natural nature. But if being feminine isn't his natural nature, then he needs to be himself, which is more masculine. We should all be who we actually truly are, instead of trying to pretend for people. If he's trying to stifle his masculine energy, it's just going to make him depressed and kind of just make him, not the perfect form of himself. And of course he's going to be unhappy in his relationship. So to me, I kind of feel like, honestly, like that would make sense that he would have an issue with that. And I can understand that if she's settled basically for someone who is feminine, then obviously she's not going to be really happy with that. But personally, for me, I don't look for someone who is masculine because honestly, let's be completely honest here. Back when I was like 12, 13 years old, I liked very feminine men. That's just what it is. And it's always been that way, where my first nature and my first preference was feminine. So, like, since I was very young, that was my preference. And I was about mid-teens to late teens when I really realized that, okay, well, the thing is, many of the time, people who are as feminine as I like them to be, most of the time people are expecting them to be gay. So it becomes a problem a bit, obviously, since I'm a female. So it's like, for me, I always was like, okay, so I guess I have to be okay with a masculine man. But it was always like with that kind of situation, kind of like, I don't personally like masculine men. I don't. I kind of feel like I like looking at them, but I don't like them being like the essence, who they are. Like, I don't like those characteristics that they bring out. Like, when they try to exude masculinity on me, it's not very attractive. I don't understand. What am I supposed to find attractive about masculinity? Masculinity honestly seems very ugly to me. I'm sorry, it's just my honest opinion on that. But masculinity does seem very ugly, in my opinion. And I understand. I mean, like, I have more masculine energy than feminine energy. Like, I would say I'm probably somewhere around 60 to 40 masculine to feminine. I am not like macho masculine. That's not me, and I'm not ultra feminine at all. And this is why, for me, sometimes a lot of the time people will think that I basically am not that masculine because I'm not as masculine as an 80-20. And I don't look for women. I'm not attracted to women who are like 80-20 either. That kind of makes sense because if most women are around 80-20, that kind of makes sense that for me that wouldn't actually balance me out. Now, would it? It would be more so what would balance me out would be more so someone 40 to 60, right? So this is why on an emotional level with women, I don't really find as much compatibility as I do with people who fit more into the middle category. More androgynous feminine energy is more so my type of preference, basically, when it comes to energy. Like, majority feminine, 60 feminine, 40 masculine. That's how the balance is for me. And you could see this with many of the people that I've talked to and like emotionally kind of connected with. Many of them fall into that category. Some might fall a little bit more on the feminine side of that. Some fall a little bit more on the masculine side of that. It's never more than a 50-50 exchange of masculine to feminine energy. So for me, I just generally don't like masculine energy. But if I have to choose, I'll say feminine energy might work a little bit better for me because of my preference in masculine energy for myself. So, yeah, that's why I'm like, you're talking about somebody who's settled. But what about someone whose actual original interest was feminine men? And masculine men were more what they realized that they might have to settle for. For me personally, with masculine men, though, it's kind of like this. They realize really quickly that for me, I don't really change or go into more of a feminine energy. I don't. And it's always been that way, and they'll be confused by this. But it's always like, well, I don't know what to tell you because it's just what it is, And, this is why most of the time with men, it's not like I don't really look at them in the emotional sense because I figure many of them are going to want a feminine energy, and I'm not going to give that to them. And I'm not going to get a feminine energy out of them. And I'm not going to get. Just mellow the fuck out. I'm sorry. But just seriously, if you just mellow the fuck out, it would be a lot easier, honestly, to me. Like, this is why I like more of a neutral energy than specifically masculine or extremely feminine. Like, if people could just mellow the fuck out, I like that better than being completely, like, masculine or feminine. It's just easier to be in the middle to me. So, anyway, continue, dude.
People go cheat on each other, pay attention to who they go cheat on each other with. The woman will always go to a very masculine man, and the man will always go to a woman who makes him feel like a king. Every single time. So we have to understand that that's what we truly desire within us. Now, by a show of hands, how many women in here desire a feminine, passive, emotional man? Anybody? Nobody?
Why did he ask that again? I already said I prefer feminine, submissive, and I would say passive, but not like, I guess you could say you have to be a grown adult too. I don't mean like, I don't know, like, to me, like I said, some people who are very feminine are kind of weird to me. When they get so feminine that they seem like they're not even grown-up people, that's weird to me. But, like, leaning on the feminine side is a good thing to me. That's just me. You know, I prefer a 60-40 exchange than specifically like 90-10 exchange of 90% feminine energy, 10% masculine energy, or 90% masculine energy, 10% feminine energy. If I have to choose, I guess I would choose the feminine energy, I guess. But I don't even think I would be able to be that masculine for that type of person, because yeah, I'm not that. And plus, what kind of person would that be? Like, how many men are that feminine? Not really many, I wouldn't think. And, you know, yeah, I'm not into women, so continue, though.
Okay. So if you don't desire a feminine, emotional, passive man, why do you think he wants a hard, masculine woman? You got an answer? Anybody? Anybody? No. Okay. This is the problem. As a woman, you have to ask yourself, and I have something for the men too, but as a woman, you have to ask yourself, what kind of man do I desire, and am I exuding the energy that attracts that kind of man? And if you know you want a masculine man, that means,
I guess, for me, I always feel like the energy I give off, I feel like I still feel like my energy that I give off, even to men who aren't the most masculine, is still not a turn on, because some of them might be a 60-40 exchange or so, and it still doesn't really work out for me. Now, to the men that I am attracted to, yeah, I've had several times where I attract men who I personally, you know, would want to attract and so forth. For me, I generally am attracted to more feminine men. It's just that the level of femininity that I like is kind of extreme, honestly, for males. In my experience, I'll experience some men that are like 50-50, and I'll try and wing it there. But like 30-70 masculine to feminine energy, it's sometimes hard to find men with that kind of energy, in my experience. But I found it a few times, and I reveled in it so much that like I liked it so much. But anyway, that was a different story. Like, the relationship I'm in now, I would say we're paired pretty well. You know, when I would say he's closer to the 50, but not quite. Like maybe like 45 45 to 55 male masculine, energy to feminine energy. Something like that. I don't know. But my point is like, yeah, I've always done that. But the problem is, I still do attract masculine men. And the reason I attract masculine men is different reasons. There can be like cultural differences where someone may not understand that I give off that kind of energy until they actually get to know me. Or it can also be because of my size. Because of my size, people assume I'm feminine sometimes. Because I am small, I'm delicate, to some people, so forth. So then they think that because I'm small and delicate, I must act feminine, which is not the case. I mean, my mother's even smaller than me, and she has pretty much similar situation where she has more masculine energy than feminine energy. So I'm just pointing that out. Continue, dude.
You have to tap into your feminine energy. The problem is that women are looking at femininity as weakness. You view it as, well, I was hurt when I was feminine. I was taken advantage of when I was feminine. Listen, femininity was never your problem. Your selection process was. All right?
Yeah, I've never acted feminine towards a man. Like, that's never happened for me. To me, that's a weird concept. Like, since I was young, since I've always had a sexual attraction, energy, so forth, it's always been where, for me personally, I just kind of have it where I have a very intense masculine sexual energy to me, and I learned that I needed to curb that with men if I wanted to get anywhere with a man who was specifically more on the masculine side. And plus, because a lot of people are more brainwashed by society, so they expect females to act a certain way. So then they are not comfortable with a woman with more of a masculine sexual energy. It puts them off and it makes them very uncomfortable, confused as well, and just not very happy. So for me, in my experience, I've always been taught to cut down my masculine energy as far as sexually and so forth with men because it makes them really angry. So I've never used any feminine energy on a man. Like, that's never happened. If I am interested, because you have to understand, for me, the only time I'm ever feminine is when I'm depressed or I am not too sure of myself. Those are the only times I'm more feminine or I lean more into the feminine energy. If I am not, if I am comfortable and I am confident, I am in my masculine energy. That's how it is. For me, I stay kind of in that energy of just how I am. I don't know, it's just kind of like being left-handed. Like, for me, I'm left-handed. Do I know why I'm left-handed? I don't know why I'm left-handed. I just am. Kind of like thing. It's like certain things are just a part of one's nature, And this is the thing about, like, women, for example. A lot of women, when they're around men, they dial back and you can feel a feminine energy on a woman, especially when she's attracted to that man, and sometimes even not when she's attracted to him, but she gives off a feminine energy. For me, I've never given off a feminine energy. I've never even felt feminine energy or feminine feelings towards a man. If anything, I guess you could say I feminize a little. Because, like, sometimes there are situations where, you need to stifle things down. different situations, basically. And for me, how it works is I have a masculine energy that I kind of hold back. It's kind of like sometimes it seems as if I'm about to yell at someone or scream at someone. So if I was to have anger towards someone and I was to yell at someone or I was to outburst on someone, for example, that would be kind of like, before you do such a thing, basically, if you were to hold back, that's how it is, basically, for me. It's like I specifically am of the type where I'm holding back when I'm involved with a man that I'm attracted to, a man that I'm dating. That makes me, I have to hold back a little because I don't want him to actually feel the energy. Because if he feels the energy and he's not receptive to that type of energy and he's not into that type of woman, and say I want only a short time period or I'm not looking to have a long relationship with him, then I'm going to chase him away. So that's why for me, it's like what you're talking about, that's not what I do. It's not like I'm holding some feminine energy back behind me. No, if I was holding anything back, it's a masculine energy, but I hold it back, so then it's not all that noticeable. And I do have a masculine energy regularly in my life, and some people are very uncomfortable or confused by that because I don't seem like a masculine person, but I do have masculine energy. So, I don't know. Anyway, continue.
Chose to entertain, who you chose to give that feminine energy to was your problem. But you don't stop being feminine, you stop entertaining the people who don't embrace and respect it. You have to learn to get back into tapping into it. Now, many women say, well, I don't know how to be feminine. I'm just not a feminine woman. That's lies. Every last one of you have femininity within you, but you may have become very detached from it. You may have become very uncomfortable, or you become...
I don't think I think I have, like I said, people have femininity in them. You have femininity in you, sir. Like, everybody's got femininity in them, right? Because we are a balance of the two energies. But the majority of one's nature and at their core is what you're talking about. That's not something that's for me personally, but I do think many of the people in his room might, because they specifically are looking for someone who's masculine. And that truth may be that inside of them, they know that they are feminine and they want someone to take the masculine role because they are feminine at the core. Their subconscious brain knows what they actually want. Just like my subconscious brain knows what I actually want. That's why I specifically wanted very feminine men at the beginning and always have.
Become conditioned to your masculine energy, so you don't know how to turn the switch on and off. And this is very common for successful women. Women working in the workplace are conditioned to thinking they have to carry this masculine energy. And then when you get into a relationship, you don't know how to turn it off, all right? And that causes a problem. Because again, the more masculine the man is, the less tolerant he will be of your masculine energy. Period. And it's the same way. A feminine woman would never be with a feminine man. It's not going to happen. Never, ever. She can't tolerate it. She can't. It's too much feminine energy going around. Like,
yeah, they don't complement each other. That makes sense.
She's not going to do it. So we've got to understand that. Now, here are some things to consider. For the women who say you're not feminine, maybe you're not used to it, I challenge you in this way. Picture yourself when you're around babies and kids. How are you?
Like, what the fuck? Get them away from me. I'm sorry, that's the truth about me. I can't help that. No, there's one side of me that's like, Okay, so if you've had a kid or you were close to having a kid or something along those lines, like you're pregnant, you may have had a loss or something like that, you may have some kind of thoughts or feelings, I guess, positively, of potentially having your child because it's your child and you're supposed to be that way. You're supposed to, even in that case, it's not specifically a feminine nature, actually, if you think of it, at least for me. I specifically was more protective, but not completely feeling like in a nurturing way, just more protective. Now, that could have been more considering the whole situation of the loss in the first place anyway, so I don't really know. I didn't really feel nurturing though, even in that case. Um, but I definitely never have felt that way towards children at all. I've always felt awkward around them, very uncomfortable around them. Like, I don't want to be around them. I mean, so many things can go wrong with them. There are too many problems with them. Things like that. I mean, parents who, worry about their kids, which rightfully so. I mean, they're very small and delicate. I mean, who I'm a clumsy person. I'm not very dexterous anyway. So, I mean, like, I don't really want to deal with a child or anything like that. It to me, I just don't feel comfortable with them. I don't. It's not one of the things. I've always been of the mentality where I was just like, I try to walk away from them, try and go away. I never ask how a child is or what their name is or any of those things. Like, I see some people, they'll ask like, and, try and act like all nice to the kid or whatever. So many things about kids are nasty to me anyway. Like, they do things that are kind of gross. And if it's not your kid, it's really gross. There's nothing cute about that. It's just gross, kind of like thing. This is not something that's abnormal that I think, because I mean, like, my mother's the same way, where she's like, kid's gross when it's not her kid. And that's a different thing. When you have your own kid, it's different than other people's kids. Other people's kids are their kids. Your kid is special because it's your kid. At least you have some sense of maternal energy in you because of pregnancy and the connection of having your child. Now, that's not always the case in my family, honestly. When it comes to maternal nature or nurture, we do have a deep disconnect in the family. Like, we have a whole 3 generation situation where every generation there's somebody or some bodies, and they're always women, abandoning their kids because they're just tired of dealing with them, basically. So, I mean, I'm just talking about that part of it. Let me see. Can I get? I think I've. Shoot. Let me see if I can start over.